So I had wanted to do a comment um, on the whole red pill thing from an autistic perspective. I've talked about red pill in the past, why it's a horrible thing, why no one should be associated with it. But I wanted to talk about it specifically from an autistic perspective. And just today, I got some comments from a red pill dude bro that happens to be on the spectrum, and this centers a lot of the things I wanted to talk about. And what occurred to me, what made me want to talk about this was I just wrapped up a series called Why Autistic Men Should Stay Single. And it was essentially that I started out just being me making the point that as an autistic man who has been in relationships, who has had sexual partners, all of this stuff, this is not this is not going to solve, these things are not going to solve all of your problems. There's, and in many cases, it's going to just add to your aggravation. And I'm saying that for the benefit of autistic men who have never been in relationships or had sex and that kind of thing. And then it started getting more out in the weeds of my own personal experiences and that kind of thing, which is why I put an end to the series and decided to start addressing these topics under different, different mastheads, different titles. And what was interesting about that series is I got a lot of comments from people that, if their self-identification is to be believed, they are men and women who both autistic and neurotypical, autistic and autistic is the correct expression, who were all appreciative of the series. But what was amazing was I started getting comments from people calling me an incel and calling me a misogynist. And I should really start preserving some of these comments before I block the people, so you can see what I'm talking about. I don't like the new not Facebook, the new YouTube thing is you don't just have an option to block somebody. You can click on a thing that's called hide user from channel, which automatically voids everything that they've ever posted on the channel, which is aggravating because it's like that was the evidence of why I made the decision to block them in the first place. But anyway, started getting people calling me an incel and calling me misogynistic. Well, it's interesting because now the incel thing is interesting because I talked about the fact that I've had girlfriends and had a sex life and that sort of thing. So maybe you just don't believe me or something like that. In which case there's no real point in trying to argue with me. You can believe me or not. But then the thing was the misogyny, the accusations of misogyny, the accusations of being an incel, of all this. Let's stop a minute. Listen to what I actually said there. I put the onus for all of this squarely on me. That all four parts of that video series were about how there are problems with me that make it difficult for me to relate to the world, which is a running theme through all of my autism videos. Everything I've talked about autism, that's been the running theme. Are there aggravations I have with the world? Of course, but it all comes back to the fact that I'm not neurotypical. There's an issue with me. And if you're going to go down this road of accusing me of misogyny and inceldom and all of that, you need to stop and realize that those assholes go out and blame everybody but themselves. The ultimate example of an incel in popular culture was Elliot Rodger, the Isla Vista shooter. And he's a great case study of, now obviously I know not every incel is plotting a shooting, I get that, but he's a great case study of that worldview. His videos are still readily available on YouTube, so you can go see them for yourselves. But he did not acknowledge any problem within himself. He was deeply narcissistic and saw himself as perfect. He referred to himself as the supreme gentleman. That he was, by his worldview, he was the one that all of the women should have been choosing, and the fact that he saw the fact that they were choosing men other than him as some kind of slight against him by the entire world. That could not be further from my worldview. And that's why it is deeply, it's deeply galling to me that anybody in any degree of seriousness would call that misogynistic. I think the only thing in that whole series I said that was critical of women was when I talked about that. I gave that anecdote about my cousin and the daffy-headed bimbos that were rushing up and hitting on him and everything. Like, I made it clear I don't like women like that. And surely you're not such a white knight that you think that there's no women out there that are superficial and shallow. I mean, if you actually think that, that's incredibly naive. That's not noble. That's incredibly naive. I've made it clear that the women I appreciate are intelligent women, sophisticated, intelligent women that have something going on in their heads, and that's what I like. I don't like daffy, stupid romantic partners. I like intelligent people, and I can't say that I like intelligent women without having a standard of stupidity to contrast that with. So this is the thing. It's just the bizarre thing, and it's very aggravating to me because this idea, as the saying goes, a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has time to put on its shoes, and and so it's just very galling to me because this is something that I've seen people run wild with. I defy you to find any example of misogyny in anything I said. There's a lot of self-deprecation because I put all of that on my own shoulders. But I defy you to find any example of misogyny in that. And the reason I bring this up now is because I started getting people who were hearing what I was saying, red pill bros that were hearing what I was saying and finding some sort of kinship in it. No, there is nothing red pill about anything that I said. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. Sure, if we were to do a side-by-side comparison of every single thing that the average red pill bro believes and every single thing that I believe, there would be a few things where we agree, because that's the human experience. You're always going to agree on a few things with everybody. Just like there's a few things I agree on with Shank Yeager and Anna Kasparian over at the Young Turks, and a lot of things I disagree with them on. But that's the realistic human experience. But don't think for a minute that just because you agree with somebody on one or two points that there's some kind of kindred spirit. And this is what I want to get into. I have spent a great deal of time on this channel warning young men away from the red pill and the manosphere and all of that. And so it's important to me, and it's important to me that we speak to this from the perspective of autism and all of that, because I really do think that the proponents, the people who have taken it upon themselves to kind of spread, kind of evangelize the red pill mindset and, and recruit people and that sort of thing. I really do think obviously all movements prey on lost souls. And I think that the red pill movement is particularly pernicious for autistic men, because it gives them autistic. If you're an autistic man, you have to take onto your shoulders such a tremendous burden, because the world does not want to interact with you like a human being and treat you like a human being, and you have to take on this this burden that seems extremely unfair, that the world is never going to want to deal with you face to face because of this thing that you are. You take that on and you have to find a way to deal with it. And there's obviously anyone that experiences that is going to have a desire to say, fuck the world, fuck everybody. I get that. And the problem is that the red pill mindset teaches men to say, rather than teaching men to say, let me deal with this, let me shoulder this burden and figure out how to deal with it myself, it says, this is a reason you can say fuck the world to everybody and not deal with your own problems. And so as I get into this autistic red pill dude bro that messaged me. Now, I'm not trying to be deeply disrespectful here, but just to give you an idea of how irritating this shit is to me, I'm going to uh, I'm going to read to you his messages in the voice that I hear in my head whenever I read red pill dude bro crap. He messages me and says, "I disagree, bro. I've had 3 exes and been with 24 women." I said, "Disagree with what?" He said, "Autistic people not getting into relationships or trying. If you don't fall, you don't get hardened or learn." And I said, "Well, I've had multiple exes and multiple partners beyond that in my history too, and I came to a different conclusion. I ultimately just realized that it was going to be a course of unceasing misery." And he says, "You are entitled to your opinion, but I think that's a really negative way to look at it and go about it. Really negative. If I remained in that mindset, I would have never achieved anything in life or had the guts to go out of my comfort zone. It's all about the people you meet and surround yourself with to help you grow. If I choose the hot gothic girl, of course I'm going to get burned eventually. You also need to understand that women are a side addition to your life, not the main focus. Don't rely on them because naturally they rely on you to be the leader. That's just how it is. And being anti-red pill doesn't give you any moral high ground. It just means you refuse to look at all perspectives." Okay. And I clarified that he was on the spectrum himself, and he was. So, like I said, I don't mean any disrespect. It's just that's how it sounds every time I read anything from some red pill asshole. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I do these videos, a lot of times I will do earlier takes. I will do a take of the video where I say everything I really feel like saying to the person I'm talking to before I put out the video that I'm actually making, where I can be more sedate and thoughtful, so I get all the visceral stuff out first and contribute positively. But I'll tell you, one of the things I said to you in that private personal take I made was, "Go fuck a knife." And that is where, I mean, that is just, I say that because that is just the aggravation of talking with anyone that's embraced this red pill mindset. You all sound exactly the same. Like everything you've said here sounds exactly like every other red pill bro. And I'll tell you, within what you said right there, this thing you said, "You also need to understand that women are a side addition to your life, not the main focus." Okay, if women are a side addition to my life and not the main focus, then I'm not going to make acquiring one of them the main focus of my life. I'm going to do my thing and let the chips fall where they may. But he goes on and says, "Don't rely on them because they are naturally they are relying on you to be the leader. It's just how it is." Okay. I don't want anybody that I have to lead around. I don't like wormy, servile, submissive people. I like people who can tell me what they think, people who have a personality of their own and an inner sense of self of their own, that are not relying on me. The idea of, or are not relying on me to be the leader. People that can give as much as they take. I'm not interested in somebody whose relationship to me is fundamentally one of taking from me. I want, it has to be an exchange. I'll tell you, you want to see the kind of woman that personality-wise is appealing to me, and the looks. It's an attractive actress as well. Go look at, there's a show, one of my favorite shows. It's one of my comfort shows. It's one of those shows like Northern Exposure or something like that, or Sex and the City or something like that, where people just, or The Office, where people just put it on for comfort. For me, that show is Joe Pera Talks with You. I love Joe Pera Talks with You, and it makes me feel like that show, unlike anything else, makes me feel like the world is going to be okay. It is the safest, most comforting show. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. All the episodes are available on YouTube. Buy the first season and watch it, and watch all 3 seasons. You'll love it. Anyway, and canceling it was one of the dumbest things Adult Swim ever did. But anyway, look at his girlfriend in that, Sarah Connor, which the character of Sarah Connor, which she's named Sarah Connor because she's a doomsday prepper, so it's kind of an inside joke there, or an obvious inside joke, a double entendre. But anyway, look at the relationship Joe and Sarah have. Joe is not a submissive person. The character Joe Pera plays in that show is not a submissive person. He's in command of himself, but he's also humble and amiable and enjoys other people. He's not somebody who feels like he has to be Gaston from Beauty and the Beast in order to be a decent, likable human being. He's a really solid human being. Look at the woman he's with, Sarah, the character of Sarah. She is sweet and loving and kind-hearted, and she actually does not need Joe to lead her around. In fact, she's set up as a very self-reliant, she's a doomsday prepper. She's preparing for the apocalypse. She's set up as an extremely self-reliant human being. She is not submissive and wormy and servile and pathetic at all, but she's also not overbearing and haughty. She's not somebody that's flagellating Joe or imposing her will on him. She's a very calm, kind-hearted, reassuring presence. And when I was a young man growing up and started feeling those stirrings of romantic desire that we all had, the stirrings of romantic desire that we all had, but mysteriously, for some reason, it was always weird and creepy and funny if I had them. But anyway, we start feeling those things. I never felt a desire to have this submissive, helpmate. By the way, the term helpmate in the Bible is incorrectly translated, but it's not literally like a submissive. It means like a companion, a partner is what the original term means. But anyway, I never wanted a wife or a girlfriend that was just like a maid that I fucked. If that was what I wanted, if what I wanted was a maid that I fucked, I would go find a maid that moonlighted as a prostitute, and that would be it. But that's not what I want in a partner. I've talked about I've criticized the series of books on my channel called the John Norman, the Gore series, the Gore novels by John Norman, where he goes on at length over and endlessly in those books about how he thinks that it's heroic to enslave women, how he thinks that it's heroic to abuse and beat and assault women. He glorifies rape, and he glorifies sexual abuse and manipulation in the extreme. And I don't mean Christian Grey. This guy makes Christian Grey look like a saint. I read a sample of a passage from one of the Gore novels in one of my live streams, and people found it deeply disturbing. If you've never read the Gore novels, you have no idea how horrifying it gets. But anyway, and basically everything that's villainous becomes good, and what becomes seen as good. Now, I bring that up because there are women out there. There is a whole Gorean subculture of women who genuinely want a man to enact that amount of psychopathic, manipulative control on them. They really want that. And don't get me wrong, I understand the kinky joys and fun of erotic sex play and consensual exchanges of power, dominant submission. I get all of that. That's people having fun with role playing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who really pathologically need to live in that kind of mindset. I have never, I have no patience or sympathy or respect for that. I just have no desire to experience that with a woman. So if that's what I, as a man, am supposed to do, I'm supposed to be this constantly in this leadership role, I'm not going to, I don't care to do that. Look at Joe. Look at the way Joe and Sarah interact on Joe Para Talks with You. That is what I want, and I don't think it's unreasonable to want that. I don't think it makes me a beta cuck or a gamma or an omega or anything else that you people who I got out all of the hateful invective in my heart in an earlier take of this video before I did this one, all of that type people want to push on people. I have no desire to do that, and I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think it makes me less of a person. I don't think it makes me less of a person because I admire Joe, the character of Joe Para on Joe Para Talks with You. I don't think it makes me less of a person that I admire him and not Tarl Cabot, the psychopathic, abusive, woman enslaving, woman raping, spousal abusal asshole bastard that's the main character of the Gore novels. I don't think it's wrong that I read those books and spent every single page of those books wishing he would die. I don't think it's wrong that I look at a show like Joe Para Talks with You and spend every single second of the show wishing I knew more people like that. And so those are my terms. And to quote Howard Rourke, those are my terms. I don't care to live by any others. This is what I'm trying to get across to you. If I have to, and what I've tried to get across to every red pill shithead that's tried to waste my time, if I am required to act like one of you dude bro zombie assholes in order to have a relationship with a woman, then I am totally fine being single. You could not find a better argument to make me comfortable with being single than telling me that to have relations with women, I have to act like one of you assholes. Good God, you think that's going to persuade me one way or the other? I mean, you think that that's going to persuade me out of my initial position? Fuck no. I am very happy to die alone and forgotten if it means that oh, by the way, I just used the expression alone and forgotten. Don't be the person in the comments that writes in and says, actually, it's very unlikely that two people will ever die at exactly the same time. Just shut up. Someone always does that. Anyway, I am happy to die alone if it means not having to turn into one of you guys. Now, to the very last thing you said, that very last manipulative thing you said, and I really do think, at least on a visceral level, that manipulation tactics like that should be considered fighting words. I think the nanosecond you start to manipulate somebody, if someone starts to try to manipulate you that way, it should become legal to stand your ground. Because anyone that's manipulating you with words like that thing about if you reject the red pill, it just means you're not willing to consider all perspectives. When you start pulling manipulation tactics like that, no, you don't fuck with my brain. You back the fuck off at that point. No, that is completely unacceptable. Look, you don't know me and you don't know what I've been through, but it's not for nothing that I speak out against the red pill bullshit. Many years ago, so long ago that it's for me, as far as my day-to-day life and my thought process, it's very much a fading memory, but it is something that comes up in these videos and I have to discuss every now and then. I had a very brief brush with the red pill thing a long time ago, and it was absolutely morbidly terrifying once I saw everything that was going on and what it's really about. And when I say what it's really about, some red pill dude bro is going to write in and say, sorry, bro, gotta tell you that you're wrong about the red pill. What the red pill actually is an interconnected system of thought and different websites that young men can use to improve their lives. I don't need to hear that shit. God, I would love it. I would love it if there could be just for the red pill bullshit, if I could get some kind of legal protection Obviously, don't break the law, but I just think it would be so great. I'm being amusing here, sarcastic here as I say this. Just try to understand that. I know that doesn't always come across. But anyway, it just would be so satisfying if there were like a legal protection for any red pill bro that tries to tell you things you've already heard about the red pill bullshit. If you could just like, if it was legal to have like, legal for me to carry like a little meat tenderizer with me, that has like the spiky things on a little hammer that has the spiky things on it, but it's a meat tenderizer that says, I've heard this already. And it's just like when a red pill bro starts in with some crap, you can just give him one tap on the forehead. I've heard this already. That would be so satisfying. I would almost never have to use that in my real life, but I would just be so happy knowing that I could carry my little red pill meat tenderizer with me. Just a little open carry. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, some bullshit asshole is going to come in and try to tell me, dude, you're wrong about the red pill. It's really blah, 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 blah. Dude, I've already heard the bullshit that got you hooked on this crap. That's how I got hooked on that crap years and years and years ago when I had a very short brush with it. Dude, you're not telling me I have anything I haven't already considered. You are not telling me anything I haven't already considered. In fact, I've had more experience with that crap than you have. I guarantee it. When it comes to the red pill, I am to the red pill as Leah Remini is to Scientology. All right? I am very much on the other side of it. And I'll claim the moral high ground about anything I goddamn well please. And that certainly goes for thinking that I am morally superior to the depraved, asinine bullshit that masquerades as pseudo-intellectualism among the red pill assholes. Good Lord. And by the way, not every perspective is worth considering. I went to I saw the premiere of the movie Denial, which was a biopic about Deborah Lipstadt, who was sued for defamation by David Irving, who is trying to remember his name, is David Irving, who's a legendary, notorious Holocaust denier. And David Irving used to rope so many people in with his bullshit about, do you care about hearing all perspectives? Do you care about pursuing the truth no matter where it leads? Do you care about true open-mindedness, being open-minded to all perspectives? He used to ensorcel so many people with that bullshit. That's how he got them going on his Holocaust denial bullshit, and it is bullshit. His books have been roundly and completely historically just debunked over and over and over again. They were even debunked in the defamation trial that he brought against Deborah Lipstadt, and he still continues pushing that shit. He is either he is a complete fraud as a historian, or he's the most incompetent historian that's ever lived. That was the argument they made in the trial. Anyway, I was at the Atlanta premiere of Denial, and Deborah Lipstadt herself spoke after the premiere screening. I actually went to the screening, the screening that came, the 11:30 screening that came after, but I saw her speech after the premiere screening, and she said something really good. She said, some people get so open-minded their brains drop out the backs of their heads. And that's absolutely true, because there are people like you, and I know you fell for that bullshit because you're trying to push it on me. There are people like you out there who get hooked on, oh yeah, I entertain all perspectives. I'm open-minded, bro. I'm seeing all of these brilliant... Look, you can't entertain all perspectives. You're going to have to decide what you do believe and what you don't believe. And I have principles and standards that already go above of how I have chosen to live my life, what I believe is right, and what I know in my heart and soul is right, that goes above and beyond everything that the manosphere believes. So if you're going to come at me and try to get me to change that, tough shit, bro. I already know what I believe. And even if it's wrong, I would rather enjoy being wrong by myself than concede for even 1 nanosecond that some red pill zombie dude bro is right about anything. God. How many, you began, bro, you began with with telling me how many relationships you've had and what your body count was. You began with that. So 3 relationships, 24 women. Do I need to have 4 relationships and 25 women before I can claim to know more about this than you do? You instantly began everything with a pissing contest. You have to give me your dating resume just to make a point. I don't date to impress. I'm willing to, like I said, for the sake of the discussion here, I'm willing to say I'm not a virgin and I've been in multiple relationships. That's pertinent to the discussion. That's necessary to have the discussion. But I don't go around wearing my body count on my sleeve. I don't go around wearing the number of relationships I've had on my sleeve or anything like that, because there's no point in trying to prove anything to anybody. You think you have you think you can pull rank on me because of the number of relationships you've had? Okay, so if I've had more than that, my viewpoint is more valid than yours or something? And that's what is so disgusting to me about the manosphere. You're not getting in these relationships to be happy with the other person, to enjoy having this other person in your life, to have a partner, to have a connection with somebody, to grow together as people. You're not doing any of that. You're doing it so you can impress a bunch of asshole dude bros on the internet. And you want to come talk to me about my track and my game. You want to tell me that my values are the ones that are out of place. Good Lord. I mean, maybe the people that care about twin galaxies and who has the highest score in Donkey Kong and all of that shit, that's about the only thing that I can think of that's more ridiculous than the pissing contests, the dick measuring contests that the manosphere red pill dubro people insist on having with each other. Good Lord. I'm not going to lie, the last few days I was feeling kind of depressed as I related all of those feelings to you, my viewership. But hearing from this guy makes me feel so much better about that. Oh, God, I would rather be single than be red pill. Like I said, if the red pill philosophy is the one that gets me laid, I don't need to get laid. If the red pill philosophy is the one that gets me married, I don't need to get married. But I can tell you from experience that it doesn't contribute anything. When I had my brush with red pill, one of the things that got me out of it was actually like talking to women that I know about it, not like using red pill techniques on them or something, or worldview on them or something like that. Just saying like, how does this resonate with you? What do you think of this? And all of the women, liberal, conservative, traditional, progressive, all across the board, they just looked at me like I had 2 heads. I mean, it is complete, ridiculous, nonsensical crap. And I know it's internally consistent. That doesn't mean it's right. And by the way, as I've been saying red pill over and over again, I want to say one more thing before I close. All of these matrix analogies just need to fucking stop. Because, by the way, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but the whole trans community, the whole gender non-conforming, non-binary community and everything, they've started using matrix metaphors too. They don't say red pill because that's loaded, obviously very loaded at this point, but they'll say that they've seen through the matrix, they've broken free from the matrix, disconnected from the matrix and all of that. Look, people, whatever it is, all across the board, every person, nearly every person on this planet, as a part of their self-actualization as they grow up, realizes that there are aspects of the worldview they were raised with that are no longer that are actually short-sighted and don't fully address the reality of the world they live in, and they adopt a newer perspective that fits better with how they actually function within the world. That is a very common experience. And just because you have found a personal perspective on life that has given you a greater degree of clarity and and made you feel more comfortable in how you interact with the world does not mean that you have disconnected from the matrix. It does not mean that you have taken the red pill. You have not done anything that is extraordinary or revelatory. You've just found something that works a little better for you. And that's a pretty standard part of growing up. And I say that because, don't get me wrong, The Matrix is a lot of fun. I saw all three movies in the theater. I thought the Animatrix, especially the little short films they did, that was so much fun. And they were the Animatrix. The shorts were beautiful. They did the one by Peter Chung, who did Eon Flux, was incredible. All the second Renaissance stuff. All of it's incredible. It's great art. It's great fun. But good Lord, man, if you stop and think about the Matrix as a concept for a minute, it is really, really dumb. I mean, let's set aside all of the stuff that, all of the obvious things about how ridiculous the idea is. Things like how, it's ridiculous to use human beings as batteries because it would take more power than one human body could produce just to keep that human body alive, And I know they were originally supposed to be data storage units anyway. But that alone is ridiculous. But stop and think about it. Like, what happens when you unplug from the Matrix? What happens when you unplug from the Matrix? You're, in the Matrix. You're living in a beautiful metropolis. You're living in a beautiful metropolis, enjoying all of the physical, carnal pleasures of human life until you expire, and living a very comfortable existence. What do you get when you unplug from the Matrix? You get to live in a hole in the ground and be chased around by flying robots. Great. Yeah, wonderful. That's why, the only character in all of the Matrix movies that I like is Cypher. That was exactly, once I got past all of the fun of the movies and everything, the excitement and the fun of the movies, I actually thought about it for a minute. It was yeah, that's the only character in the whole series that makes any sense. Of course you want to go back in the Matrix. And I don't really blame him for selling out everybody either, because, what did they do? They set me up so I can live in a hole in the ground and be chased around by flying robots. Yay. I mean, it's just the dumbest idea. And it's why are we all so inundated with building our personal philosophies and personal worldviews off of Matrix metaphors? Anyway, so hopefully I've made some sense. Bringing it all back around, I know I gave you a lot of stuff there about why I think the red pill thing is bullshit, but I want to further emphasize that the real problem, what's really concerning to me here is that I think autistic people like this person, and this is part of why I got a lot of the hateful things I wanted to say out first, because I do think this guy, he's on the spectrum. He admitted to me that he's on the spectrum. And I do think that the red pill stuff preys on people like that. And I think it preys on, and I say that again from experience, because even though I got my diagnosis when I was 20, it was I spent all of my 20s struggling with that diagnosis and not wanting it to be true, not wanting to, not wanting to accept the fact that whatever goodwill I had built up in the world with people in the world around me, as soon as I told them I was autistic, they would immediately see me as Chris Chan. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to think about that. I didn't want to deal with it. It took me a long time to accept that. And I know all of the philosophies that this red pill attitude. Again, like I said, this goes back over a decade for me, all of those philosophies and everything are very, very appealing to someone who's autistic and living in, wanting to deny it, wanting to live in denial. And, that the superficiality of it seems very intoxicating, very appealing. But I've seen, I don't want to, I've gone into greater detail elsewhere about how horrible the red pill worldview is, but it is not anything that you want to get involved with. And I really and truly think that it is, I really do think that it's better than, I'll put it to you like this. I'll close with this. I'm now middle-aged, and I'm at a point where younger people that I know, children of friends and that kind of thing, will come to me for advice, and various young people that I know that I've interacted with will come to me for advice, and they'll with their lives, and I, for all of my own foibles, and maybe because of some of my own foibles, I'm able to offer some degree of elder wisdom. A few years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago at this point, it was a young man, about 15 at the time, that I happened to know, that was having trouble coming into his own as a young man, especially as it related to girls and that sort of thing. And he came to me one time. He was really upset because this girl had been, one of the things he was having trouble with was girls that would use their sexuality to taunt him, to bully him, that kind of thing, which is something that's not discussed a lot. And he said that he had walked into the cafeteria one day, and he's, very, kind of introverted person. And this one girl had seen him and said, "Hey," his name said, "Hey, you want to fuck?" And he just walked on by, and all the other girls around her laughed at him and everything. And he was upset by that. And I said, well, the next time she does that, say, next time she says you want to fuck, say, yeah, maybe as a joke, that kind of thing, like taunt back, fight back. You can stand up for yourself verbally that way. Now, obviously, that is not meant to be any kind of seduction tactic or anything. That's not going to move you towards having sex with that woman. That young woman. That's just saying, hey, I'm not going to take shit off of you, that kind of thing. Anyway, so later on, he spoke to me and said, sometime later, he came to me and he said, "You know what, man? I am just tired of seeing all of the douchebag assholes at my school being the ones that are successful with girls. And I've decided I'm going to start paying attention to what they do and modeling my behavior after them. I want to start meeting women." I said, "No, you're not. No, you're not going to model your behavior off of the asshole douchebags at your school. And here's the reason why. Your honor and your integrity and your personhood, who you are as a person, matters more than getting tail. And one day, you're going to be my age, you're going to be up in my age bracket, and you're going to be looking back over your life. And how you lived your life is going to matter a lot more to you than how much tail you got. So you make a long-term investment in that now." Believe it or not, if that young man never gets laid, and I haven't seen him in years, but if that young man never gets laid in his life, but he has lived an honorable life, I'm totally okay with that. And that's why I'm totally okay with rejecting the red pill mindset, and I am totally okay with saying that I have the moral high ground for rejecting the red pill mindset.